Okay. Okay, so first we'll just go over the course calendar. You'll notice that I changed things a little bit so that it's a little bit more clear exactly what's happening each class, and with the due dates, I just thought it was an easier way because of this whole idea that you're working independently, but you need to be keeping track of your time. So this is giving you a sense of like what you should be working on. Okay, so due today, for instance, there's nothing due today, but you should start collecting data, as in like today or tomorrow, or if you haven't, starting next week. So just very quickly get into data collection, because for the next 4 weeks, the whole month of February, we're not meeting because you're doing field work. Next week, you are meeting with me individually so that I can go over with you your lit review and your full proposal in detail, like with you one by one, and give you like rich feedback on that. So we are going to meet individually, but we're not going to necessarily try to meet on class day. I'm going to make it a little bit more flexible with my office hours as well as our class day, so that there's just a little bit more flexibility there. And also because that way I don't have to try to just like do 10-minute meetings. I can do 15 to 20-minute slots, or just give us a little more time. So when you meet with me, come prepared to discuss your timeline and work plan, and we'll go over your papers, and then you should also be collecting data. So that this whole month of February, what I'm hoping is that that gives you enough time to collect data. Also note that in February, I'm saying you should be collecting data, but you should also be meeting with your advisor. Okay? So at this point, I would recommend meeting with your advisor on a weekly basis, even if you're not meeting for a long time. Even if all you're doing is checking in and just saying, hi, everything's still going well, data collection is still moving along, or I'm having a lot of trouble, or things are falling apart. But just you need to be checking in with your advisor on a regular basis. That person needs to know like exactly what's happening with you, right, at every moment. And then in March, we're going to meet, and we're going to talk about evaluating your research project and like basically discussing the quality of your project and thinking ahead to analyses. We're going to talk about how to make sure that your project is trustworthy. The readings that are for this semester all come from this one textbook, and I'm just waiting for the copy of it so that I can scan it and then upload those. So they're not up yet, but we don't really have to worry about that right now. So as of March, beginning of March, what I'm saying is you should start thinking about and working on your data analysis. And then the second week of March, we're going to actually have a workshop in class. We're going to meet, and we're going to work with your data and help each other and just look at what kind of data that you have, and using the chapter about analyzing quantitative and qualitative data, thinking about like what strategies you need to use, how do you need to be organizing your data in order to be able to analyze it. So you're going to bring your data with you, whatever it is, survey results. And if you're doing like an online survey, say you're using the NYU Qualtrics and your online survey, you can just bring your laptop and we can work on it that way. Don't feel like you have to print everything out. We don't want to have like masses of paper, but do come with your data in whatever format, digitally or digital format or hard copies. Okay, then we have spring break, and then after spring break, I'm giving you a no class so that you can make sure that you meet with your advisors individually, and you should be discussing like where you are and what needs to happen next. So this is sort of like a midpoint check-in. You've done your semester plan, you've created a timeline, which you are going to share with your advisor. I'll tell you about that in a bit. You're going to share that with your advisor, and then in March, you're going to meet with your advisor again, and then it's going to be like, okay, how are we doing on the timeline? What needs to happen? Your advisor's going to say you need to do more of this or less of that or whatever, okay? And then we're going to meet the following week, April 2nd, and we're going to check in with each other and plan for rough drafts, revisiting those outlines that we made, planning how the rough drafts are going to be organized. We're going to discuss the reading on how to write up research and how to use your results to like sort of make your point. And then I'm going to ask you to turn in your results section on that day. So you should give me a draft of your results section on April 2nd. Then the following week, we're going to have a workshop on rough drafts. You're going to bring 2 copies of your rough draft to class because you're going to actually have peer review, okay? And I have a whole like structure rubric for that. So it's going to be a process of reading and then rereading and sort of looking for certain things. Should be very helpful. And that week, I'm suggesting that you should be working on your discussion section. And the next week, we're going to do discussing planning for final drafts. And again, revisiting outlines, how the final draft is going to be organized. You should turn in your draft of your discussion and or conclusion that day, April 16th. And then April 23rd, we don't have class. We're going to be meeting. You're going to be meeting with me individually, and you're going to turn in a full rough draft of your entire paper, and we're going to consult with me one-on-one on like any final things that you've got going on related to your paper, related to the project or writing or whatever. The next session is going to be a poster session 101, sort of like how to do a good poster, how to make those work, how do you set it up, what should go on it, and then what is going to be like to be in a poster session, what should you say, how is it going to go, and then no class the following week, May 7th. Final papers are due, and then the poster session is May 14th. So between the day of the final paper and the poster session, you have a week. Like, you're not turning in your final paper on the last possible day of the semester, which is the day of our finals. May 14th is the day of our final, quote unquote. So we're doing the poster session on that day, but your paper is going to be turned in before that, so that if there are any major issues, we can address them before, finals week, and you can kind of graduate in peace.
Can you just elaborate more on the poster session?
So we're going to have a sort of like final celebration. We're going to invite faculty members, other students, your families, whoever wants to come and can make it, to come, and there are going to be boards set up where you're going to have PowerPoint slides that you print out with your study. And so in the session we'll discuss like if you've ever seen, okay, so that's a poster. You guys won't do that version per se. You'll put the same information, but you'll do it on individual pieces of paper because it's just easier to do it that way. I mean, if somebody really wants to get fancy, I'm not going to stop you, but it's just a summary of your study in visual form. And then people go around and they have their little drink and their cheese, and they're like, so tell me about your research study. And then you give them your little spiel. That's how it goes. Okay? Okay. So it's less stressful than like standing up and giving a presentation in front of a bunch of people, but you are going to say the same thing over and over again because people are going to keep rolling through and so on. So that's the deal. So that's kind of like, this is the overview of the semester. Hopefully that's helpful. So what I want to say about the Lit Review and the proposals is that they're coming along well. There are some standard sort of common issues that have come up repeatedly with them. One thing is like organizing the Lit Review so that it's not just like summary of one study, summary of the next study, summary of the next study, which is more like your annotated bibliography, but actually like a discussion and a seamless sort of conversation of the stuff. So like you'll see a lot, like what's the topic sentence of this paragraph? The topic sentence shouldn't be so-and-so's study, and then the next paragraph shouldn't be so-and-so's study. There should be like a sense from paragraph to paragraph that you're trying to make a point. And the point of this paragraph is this. And the point of this paragraph is this. And then I want to say this, okay? So we're going to work on that. And then there are also some technical things that are more specific to individual people's work. So we're going to just go over those next week. Like I said, individually with like time to talk and to go over specifically what the issues are that I want you to work on related to your writing. Okay. Now here come the handouts. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to hand out is, and obviously like all this stuff is going to be up on on classes as well. And so the first thing is, this is just your overview. Okay, so that I feel like there's less anxiety the more you know, right? So if you know what's coming, you feel less anxious. When you are, so just so you know, your honors project, your final paper, is an article, a final sort of thesis paper or an article or paper that's about 17 to 20 pages in length, okay? We're going to either follow APA or MLA as we discussed. And so make sure that you spend some time looking at journals in your field, okay, the ones that you wrote about. That you should now, by now, because you've been reading articles, you have a feel for how these things, how they're written, how they flow. You're imitating that. Even I, to this day, y'all, when I'm writing an article for a new journal or for a different journal, I find an article that I like. And then I just write like that article. Because that article got published in that journal. And that journal publishes things in that style. So I just look for something that like fits with my work and that I really like how they've done it, and I just copy it. There's nothing wrong with that, because remember, from day one, academic writing is a genre. So you have to learn it. You have to learn it just like you would learn how to write poetry, just like you would learn how to write a persuasive essay, right? It's just a report of research. It's a genre. So there's nothing wrong with like studying the genre and then modeling it, okay? So that's what you're going to do. You're going to get a sense of how they order the different sections, how they use headers, how they blend, and all that sort of stuff, and you're going to model that for your paper. So your paper is going to include an introduction, right? Something that sort of catches the attention of your reader, a statement for some of researcher stance, like why are you interested in the topic? Not everyone necessarily is going to have this, but a lot of you will. An analytical question, discussion and analysis of the literature, discussion and analysis of your methods, a layout of your study and findings, an analysis of your findings, an evaluation of your project, like the so what question, a conclusion, bibliography, and then if you need appendices, like if you need examples of your questionnaires or things like that, okay? So there are different ways of putting these sections in order and different styles for conveying your descriptions and analyses. The reason why this is very general and broad is because people are writing different kinds of papers and doing different work. Some people are doing qualitative work, some people are doing quantitative work, but even within that, like Stephanie writing for an English ed audience is going to have a different style of delivery than Kat, who is going to draw the attention of both developmental psychologists and people who are OT and educators. So she may decide to tailor her work toward a particular audience, like, oh, I actually want to write this so that it's useful to teachers, or I actually want to write this so that it's informational for developmental psychologists, or I'd like to target both of those audiences, and I'm going to try to write sort of in a hybrid way, okay? So that is going to affect, exactly what you do. But you're going to, again, find that piece that makes you go like, aha, I want mine to look like that, and you're going to model it after that. And then the rough draft should be as close as possible to what you would consider appropriate for the final draft. So the more you give, the better feedback you can get. We're going to work on the peer feedback on April 9th. You're going to bring in 2 copies of your work, and then the rough drafts are going to be due April 23rd, so that gives you plenty of time to revise from the first draft, from the rough draft to the final draft, which means that in between then, you can be consulting with your advisor, you can check in with me, so that you can get that polished draft, so that you can get that rough draft sort of in good shape, and then we'll have the final drafts due like a couple weeks later, or a few weeks later. Okay? This is the big picture. Okay. And we're going to work with this big picture to create our timeline. I'm just going to give these as handouts, okay, and let you know what they are. So the first thing is all documents that you've seen before, okay, but I've put them in one packet so that you can have them easily accessible in one place. And that is these guides on like how to do a sentence outline, how to write a lit review, how to do a conclusion, or how to write an introduction, how to write transitions, and how to write a conclusion. So that's what's in this packet. Again, you've seen these all before. I just wanted to put them in one place so that you guys can use them as a guide. Please consult them. I could tell who looked at how to write a lit review and who didn't. So make sure, please, I'm giving you these resources not for my help, but really so that you can put out a quality product. So that's that handout. The next handout is when I was teaching at the University of Connecticut, I taught a writing intensive research methods class. And what that meant is that I had to teach students not only how to do methods, but also how to write, which is sort of similar to, I think, the purpose of this seminar. And so I had TAs, and I had to train my TAs on how to work with their students to improve their writing. So some of my TAs created these cute, writing tips, and I was looking over them, and I was like, you know what, these are really great, so I'm going to share them with you. Lily was one of the TAs, and she has just some really straightforward things that are common errors, that people make that in their writing. So make sure that you look at all of these and make sure that you sort of like notice whether there are any of these that are a problem for your writing. And then the very first one is like just general improvement for your next paper. The middle one is specifically about critiques, which will be relevant for you for your lit reviews. Okay. And then her final one, which is just like a miscellaneous ones that are pretty funny. And then I also have in there a single page that's pretty random, but it's common grammatical errors. Okay, so after all of Lily's slides, there's just a single like Word document sheet that just says common grammatical errors that just lists a few: can, not versus cannot, then versus than, dominate versus dominant. So just, to be aware of these things and to know when to use them, okay? The differences between them. Plural and possessive, I like to work with kids. That's a common mistake. You see that even on posters and signs and billboards. It drives me crazy. And then run-on sentences. Okay. Then there's my favorite, the very last thing, examples of bad writing, which is a really fun summary of how to not write. Okay, so they have these different categories for them, like buzzword salad, unintelligible philosophical writing by beginning philosophy students, way too many technical errors, not terrible but could be so much better. And what I really like is that not only do they tell you, like show you an example of what's problematic, but they also give you tips and tools for like how to make it better. So, this buzzword salad, oh, that's terrible. Here's how you can make it better. Or like, how do you deal with making stuff more intelligible, easier to understand for people, okay? So this is another good resource. We'll be referring to this, using this like next week when you come to meet with me individually. I'm going to be pulling this stuff out and saying like, here's some things that I've noticed in your writing. Please look closely at this handout or that, whatever. So another resource. And then the third thing is, this is like super basic, and I'm going to need you to get into a lot more specific detail than this. It's a really basic APA style tutorial. So some common things that people do, like you have to cite the year of publication when you cite the like you can't just say so-and-so's name and not put the year of the publication. You have to cite all authors in a source. You can't say like Abood found, and then actually it's Abood plus like 3 other people, right? You have to actually cite everyone. Titles. This is one that's a pain because the tools that we get, like say you're using EndNote or you're using, what's that other one? RefWorks, or there's another one somebody told me about, like this web one that's, I can't think of the name of it right now. Which one?
EasyBib?
No, but it's something
Like
like
one of
that,
those.
one of those. They don't change the capitalization. They import the citation from a database, and the title of the article is like every letter is capitalized. That is not APA style. APA style, every letter has to be lowercase. So you have to go through and make those corrections. Have to. So then this is just showing you, like, if you're doing a reference citation in text, one work by one author. This was another one of my TAs who made this one. Leo found, or in a study of police interrogators, and then you put Leo, 1996. One work by 2 authors. You can name the authors and put the year, or you can just say, as has been shown, and then cite the authors. One work by 3, 4, or 5 authors. The first time the reference occurs, you list everyone, and then anytime after that, you say et al., and both of them are lowercase with a period at the end of the al, not the et. Reference citations in text, specific parts of a source, you want to do the page number. A lot of folks were using direct quotes in their lit reviews, but not citing the page number. You have to cite a page number if you're going to use a direct quote. And then we'll also talk about individually minimizing the use of direct quotes, because there's a lot of stuff that are direct quoted, a lot of things that are direct quoted that just don't need to be. Direct quote is for like some stellar wording that you just could not possibly come up with yourself, right? It's just like so beautiful, you just want to hang it on your wall. But if it's just like the study, was an examination of blah blah blah, that should not be in direct quotes. You should be able to summarize and paraphrase that. And then reference citations in text, 2 or more works within the same parentheses. They should be separated with, if it's one author, then it's commas, but if it's multiple studies, different studies, they're separated by a semicolon. And then here's a sample reference list of like how it's supposed to look for an entry. This is a book. Okay, so very basic, but as we talked about, there's that OWL, the Purdue OWL, which is amazing for resources on APA style and how to do it right. Whatever kind of citation, whether it's like a web article or a journal article, all those kinds of things, they have all that stuff listed. So again, these are the things that I just want you to like carry around with you. Like I said, if you want to make like holes and put them in one place together, that would be awesome. Just remember to bring them so that we can keep referring to them and keep on refining that writing. Okay. So now we come to the creating a semester plan. Okay. So this is more of like an individual activity. So everybody just get out a piece of paper. And the first thing I want you to do is for yourself, for you individually, make a list of the things that need to get done between now and May in order to get you from where you are right now to your final product. And obviously you can use this as a guide of like, what are the different things I need to work on. You can also look at on the syllabus, if you look at page 2 of the syllabus, kind of lower middle, it says assignments, and then the smaller assignments that are due, result section, discussion, conclusion, full rough draft, final draft, a poster. So that also gives you a sense. And then you can also look at the syllabus calendar, which stuff like data collection, data analysis, right? Those are all different tasks. So you make a list of what you need to do starting today to get yourself from here to graduation day.